If you knew that death was a thought, would you let it dissolve and live forever? If you knew that what was real in life could not be bought, would you strive so hard for empty gold? If you knew that love was giving, would you stand in line waiting? If you knew that love was all, would you spend your time hating? If you knew that every moment was now, would you worry about yesterday or tomorrow? If you knew that listening was with the inner ear, would you pay so much attention to idle words? If you knew that love was the only power, and it alone lets all be that is, would you try so to be ruler or king or dictator? If you knew that love was a leader, would you follow ways of guilt or fright? If you knew that prejudice was a seed, would you plant it in your garden? If you knew that beyond every tear was laughter, would you bear your hardships and not complain? If you knew that wars could never be won, would you cease your fighting? If you knew your mind was a garden, would you be careful with the tools you use? Would you pull out the weeds of lack and discontent and plant the seeds of love and fullness? Would you take the hoe of faith and form a resolution that to every problem or trouble, there would be a hopeful situation? If you knew that faith was believing something was complete before begun, would you waste your time with idle desires? If you knew that God was every man, that when the breath of love poured itself into others, it didn't forget you. If you knew that love was God, and it was all colors, would you notice if a man were black or white or yellow? If you knew that there was only one religion, the brotherhood of man, would you bow down and worship false gods of fortune or fame, or would you see through them to their source of love? If you knew that every mist or cloud would soon dissolve, that love sees through all, that it breaks down walls and melts unreality and forms a new being in the heart. If you knew that all hearts were one heart, would you look outside of yourself for God? If you knew that through your eyes God sees all, and is also the eyes of others, if you knew that God was the only ear that hears through all things, that God was the only breath that breathes through all, would you see yourself as separate from yourself and from each other? If you knew that you were in God, that His voice speaks through you as well as through your brother, would you let words of vile thoughts pass through your lips? If you knew that God was the air you breathe, would you fill it with poisonous gas? Would you cut down beauty with deadly fumes? If you knew that the words God and love were the same, that the flesh of love is the spirit that runs into the ocean, that you are the root of a tree so large it is love, and it is all things. The tree is planted in holy ground. It is all that can be. It is all that is. If you knew that God's heart was all hearts, that His blood ran through every bloodstream and gave energy to every cell of every man, if you knew that deep within your heart it met all others, would you plunge a dagger of words into another heart? If you knew that the blood that runs freshly out of dead soldiers lying on the ground is God's blood, would you shed it so easily? Would you kill your fellow man? If you knew that none stand in your way except yourself, would you go toward the mark? Could you know that you are timeless, that you are a celebration, a meeting place of events past and future, in this present? If you knew that the flowers that grow toward the sun were your sisters, that you were the brother of the moon and the stars, would you ever harm another? Could you ever sacrifice a person? If you knew that your soul had wings and rode on a great gold chariot of love, would you ever settle for less than the whole? If you knew that when you see in your mind's eye a transparent man that has a glowing light around himself, that holds in his hands planets, universes, and solar systems, would you know that that man is you?